everyone, my name is Samantha Hudson and I currently work with the Clean Annapolis River Project, leading our Aquatic Species at Risk and Invasive Species project. And today, in support of National Invasive Species Awareness Week, I'm going to be talking to you guys about our volunteer citizen science fish monitoring program and how you can become involved. Some of you may already be aware of our program through social media posts, but also through one of our past live stream Learn from Home series videos that was delivered a few weeks back. This presentation is going to be similar to that presentation, but will be more of a modified version, and also will be a little bit more convenient to some, where it can be viewed on your own time and a little more easier to access. And just before moving forward, I just wanted to mention and thank our current anglers who have registered for the program, and who have also provided some of these great photos that are highlighted here on the presentation slide. And I also just wanted to mention and note that this project and the work that is being carried out under the Citizen Science program is being funded by Fisheries and Oceans Canada and also Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture. For those of you that are not aware or familiar with the Clean Annapolis River Project, otherwise known as CARP, we are a community-based nonprofit environmental organization focusing our work and efforts throughout the Annapolis River watershed. We are also driven by our mission to enhance the ecological health of the Annapolis River watershed for current and future generations through science, leadership, and community engagement. And just for some context, the Annapolis River spans from Digby to South Berwick. So, what is the purpose of the program? Okay, so basically we are hoping that the program will be able to kind of provide an inventory of fish species here in Nova Scotia, and this will allow us to track species and their spread throughout the province. We are also hoping that the program will be able to act as a potential for early detection of aquatic invasive species, but also species at risk, to know where to focus our conservation efforts or where to delegate priority areas for further investigation. And lastly, we are hoping to educate the public and anglers on the effects of AIS here in Nova Scotia and their impacts on native fish populations. It's also really just a great way to get the community involved, along with various project partners, including provincially, federally, and NGOs. This information will also be used to update existing internal databases and geodatabases to make informed decisions in collaboration with project partners. So first of all, we need to identify what are invasive alien species. By definition, invasive alien species are plants, animals, aquatic life, or microorganisms that are known to outcompete native species when introduced outside of their natural environment, and are also known to threaten ecosystems, the economy, and the society, which many of us may not think about. Aquatic invasive species are invasive species that inhabit aquatic environments, such as the chain pickerel that is highlighted in the background photo here. But the two freshwater AIS that we are concerned with for this project and here in Nova Scotia, among others, include the chain pickerel and the smallmouth bass. And I'm sure many of you anglers out there have often observed the effects that this species has on a system once introduced and over time, which is very devastating, where almost, if not everything, in that ecosystem is being affected. Just some other points to add here. Invasive species are also known to reduce the number of native fish in a system, which also results in a reduction of the number of sport fish. And the most obvious point being, once they are established, are difficult, if not impossible, to control. And there are also some other aquatic invasive species here in the province, which can include the Chinese mystery snail, being a problem where they can clog water intake pipes and also competing with other native species such as native snails for food, and so on. And then we also have the green crab, which is known to outcompete other native crabs for food, but also is known to disrupt eelgrass beds that provide habitat for many juvenile fish species. And then we have tunicates, which are kind of more marine, but which are a group of marine animals that spend most of their lives actually attached to docks and boats, and that is often how they spread. And this isn't a complete list of the aquatic invasive species that we have here in the province. There are many others, but these were just a few with no, order in rankings or highest impact, but just a couple of examples that thought might be good to add here into the presentation. So what are the impacts of aquatic invasive species? This top photo featured here shows an Atlantic salmon smolt, which is actually one of our native and at-risk species here in the province, in the stomach contents of a smallmouth bass, which is obviously known to be invasive in some parts of the province. And then we have the bottom photo showing another invasive species being the chain pickerel, with yet again an Atlantic salmon smolt in the stomach contents. And these photos were actually taken from one of our project partners, being the Coastal Action Foundation, as a result and as a part of their invasive species project within the La Have system, where they are facing some serious issues with chain pickerel and the critically endangered Atlantic whitefish, but also the Atlantic salmon smolts as shown here. And some of the most common impacts that AIS have on an ecosystem include negative impacts on native fish communities once introduced into a water system, which may seem kind of repetitive in some of the previous slides, but we're just really trying to emphasize that. And if it wasn't already obvious, they create competition for food and habitat for many fish species and other species. And they also decrease species richness and diversity, which leads to declining populations of native species such as our Atlantic salmon and Atlantic whitefish, as shown in these photos here, but obviously other fish species in Nova Scotia as well. What can you do? So, number one thing that you can do when dealing with AIS is report your sightings. We are currently working on getting some contact information up on our site, so stay tuned. This will be available on our Aquatic Invasive Species page if you can navigate to that under our ongoing projects. And if you made it this far, then that's just one more step. And number two, you can participate in our citizen science program. So if you're interested after watching this presentation today, feel free to reach out and send me an email. And again, as mentioned, do not transport live bait between water bodies. This is very important. I actually don't know if I had mentioned this point or not yet, but this is a big one. And number four, know your aquatic invaders along with their impacts. So now you have a little bit of a background, kind of background information on these species, but definitely there's lots more to learn, so feel free to do more research. And number five, the Clean Drain Dry campaign. So this is actually a call to action that empowers recreational users of aquatic resources to help stop the spread of harmful aquatic invasive species, basically through changes in behavior. And you can participate and practice this by performing inspections with watercraft at the end of each day and before entering into new water systems, and also by removing any animals and plants that may be present on your boat. And then we have the next point being draining water from your motor, live well, etc. before entering into a new system. This is also an important one. And then washing and drying your waders, tackle, and so on. And many people, maybe not even would have considered this, but they are all really good pieces of information and points here. But this is important in order to kill harmful species and to reduce the spread of introduction as well. And lastly, tell your friends and community members, inform them on the impacts of AIS, and let them know what they can do too. So now I'm going to briefly touch on the opposite of invasive species, but rather species at risk. In my more detailed presentation that I had kind of mentioned previously, I go into depth with aquatic species at risk, but if you have any particular questions about these species or other aquatic species at risk in Nova Scotia, feel free to reach out to us here at CARP, and we can answer any of those questions for you. But for a quick definition, species at risk are commonly known as any naturally occurring type of plant or animal that is endangered of extinction or of disappearing from the province in our case, or a given area. And some of you may have and may already be aware of some species at risk here in the province, but just to highlight a few aquatic species at risk that we have the brook floater, which is a species of freshwater mussel, and one of its distinct features is its foot, that it actually sticks out and is shown here in the photo. And then we have the American eel, which I am sure many of us and anglers are aware of, this species here in our NS waters. And one cool fact about eels is that they are actually known as a catadromous species, so opposite of anadromous, which means that they are born in salt water. So in this species case, it would be the Sargasso Sea, and then they migrate to freshwater to grow and mature before heading back to saltwater to spawn and die. And then we have the striped bass, with some populations being more at risk than others, and in some cases one of the populations is actually extirpated. But one of our main focuses for this program for aquatic species at risk include both the endangered Atlantic salmon, so covering off 2 out of 4 of the populations, and the critically endangered Atlantic whitefish, which is actually only known to occur and exist in one watershed in the entire world, and that being in the Petite Riviere watershed here in Nova Scotia and Lunenburg County, which is pretty remarkable. And you can see the Atlantic whitefish in the top photo here, and then the Atlantic salmon in the bottom photo. So now jumping back to the program, how does it work? So the first thing that we are asking anglers to do is to get them registered through our website, and I will include the link to that registration page at the end of this presentation, along with any other important links that I mentioned throughout the presentation. And then we are asking that you complete a pre-quiz along with some online training links that will be sent to you through email. And the quiz covers things such as fish ID, aquatic invasive species, species at risk, fishing regulations here in the province, etc. And then you will be prompted to select sites where you are interested in fishing over the next couple of years. We are asking anglers to fish at an assigned site or sites on an ongoing basis. And then we will arrange the delivery of your angler kit, so whether that is online or by mail. And right now we kind of have like a one-to-one. A lot of people like getting them in the mail, but also online. So it was good that we were able to adapt to the current circumstances and to make some fillable electronic forms. But they contain things such as the program protocol, angler diaries, incident report forms, waiver forms, clipboards, and so on. And I'm going to go into more detail about the angler kits and what specifically they actually include. And then we are asking that you take a read through the protocol and become familiar with the materials in the kit once you receive it, and then obviously asking questions if need be. And before you start fishing or recording information related to this program, we are asking that you fill out our waiver form, which will be sent to you electronically and in your angler kit. And this can be sent back electronically, which can be just as easy as taking a picture, but also scanning and mailing is also fine. And we ideally would like these forms before you start participating in the program. And then you're good to go. You can start fishing now that we're all good with the fishing season start date. But at the end of the season, we are asking that you submit your angler diary, which I will show in a later slide, at one of our drop-off locations provided in your kit, or you can mail or submit your forms electronically, which may be the route that we decide to take going forward, but there's some options there. And then once your angler diary has been received, you will receive your free patch as a thank you for participating in the program, and you will also get a sneak peek at those in a slide to follow. Okay, so site selection. So once you are provided with the link to select your preferred sites, we kind of have it laid out into an RFA map, which is pretty much the exact same as the RFA zones determined by the province and as laid out in your angler handbook that you receive each year. And you can kind of see a screenshot of the map in the smallest circle on the page here. But then you will be prompted to select and find which RFA zones you are interested in. And this will then display various grid squares that make up the RFA zone, and they are just kind of chunked up into smaller maps, which is also shown in the second smallest circle here. And then you will click on the grid squares for your angling locations, and this will launch a more detailed map, which is shown in the largest circle and also featured in the background photo here. And basically you will then zoom into the area where you plan to fish for the program and just record those grid codes. And just for a little bit of background information, the RFA zones correspond with the counties, so if you have an idea of which county you're interested in fishing within, then that's a good start. And the codes consist of a sequence of 7 numbers and digits. So the first code, the first number rather, will indicate your recreational fishing area, and these codes will allow us to track data from the same site over time. And you can also email us if you cannot determine your grid squares. We can definitely help you out there. And just an update, we are currently working on trying to get all of these maps into an online interface that allows for more interaction through ArcGIS Online. It's a work in progress, but something that we are exploring at this point, and to better serve the needs of the angling community and participants in the program. And the grids are also 500 meters by 500 meters, and you do not necessarily need to cover the entire square or grid, but it is really just used as a reference for you and for us on the other end to help manage. And also we can determine a grid square or squares for you if you do not have a preference. And one thing that I also just wanted to note is it's best to view these maps and grids on a computer rather than a phone, also with good internet connection. So this was kind of already mentioned in a previous slide, but this just kind of shows and includes a more in-depth list of the materials that will be included in your angler kit. I won't go over these in detail, but it should give you more of an idea of what to expect in the kits And if you want to kind of just, pause the presentation and look at them more in detail, feel free. Okay, so Angler Diaries. As mentioned, this is what your Angler Diary will look like. We tried to make the Angler Diaries as user-friendly as possible and something that would require minimal effort while anglers are out fishing and in the field. We are basically asking anglers to record things such as the date, start and end times, the water that's being fished, the hours that's being fished and being put into the program, any tackle that's being used, fishing method, species that are being caught along with the number of species, and so on. And like I had mentioned before, electronic forms are also now available and maybe just a little more convenient given the circumstances and during this time. Also, if the angler is willing and able, if aquatic invasive species are caught, we are interested in asking if the anglers can obtain the fork length for each species. If that is something that you're able to do, we would love to get that information, and really just a tape measure would be fine here. And we can also provide fabric tape measures and rulers for those that are in need. And any photos are obviously welcomed, but are not required. So feel free to share any photos with us, and we can definitely share them and get them up on our website and our Facebook page with your permission, of course. And at the end of the season, we are kind of hoping to compile all of this data together and to kind of summarize these results into a report that can be provided back to anglers and our project funders for those that are interested. So when you submit your angler diaries and effort cards, and at the end of the season, you will get your choice of either an Atlantic salmon or an Atlantic whitefish patch shown here in the photos. We are welcoming any suggestions for 2021 designs, so let us know. And you can see here, so the Atlantic whitefish patch obviously is highlighted on the left with the Atlantic salmon patch highlighted on the right. And then at the end of the season, when you also fill out our end of the year evaluation feedback survey, which is maybe 5 to 10 questions, nothing too complicated, you will also receive one of these invasive species stickers that are vehicle grade, so they're great to put on your tackle box or fishing boat, or if on your car even, but they are waterproof, so they are tough and they will withstand any inclement weather. Okay, so iNaturalist. What is iNaturalist? This was covered in more detail in some of our previous Learn from Home series, which would be titled Intro to Citizen Science on our Facebook page. But a brief definition can include iNaturalist being more of an online social network of people that are kind of sharing biodiversity information to help each other learn about nature. And basically how it works is you post a photo and then others can confirm or suggest an ID. And we have set up an iNaturalist page specifically for this project, where anglers can request to join who have signed up for the program, and it's kind of a way for them to keep in touch with the local angling community, and also for them to post photos and just kind of act as a platform to confirm species identification if one is not sure. And so, for example, let's say you took a picture of a fish and you were not sure if it was a smallmouth bass or white perch. You can then upload the photo to the group and someone will confirm or suggest an ID for you. So once you get so many suggestions of the same species, then it becomes what is known as research grade. And I will also be sure to include the link for this page as well. And if anyone has any questions regarding iNaturalist, or how they can use it, or maybe you want us to use it on your behalf, then we can definitely do that as well. Just feel free to reach out to me. How to become involved. I will provide some links on our last slide as well to the website and registration link. That's kind of the first step on how to become involved for the program. And you can kind of see in the background photo here, just kind of a screenshot of what that page looks like and where our pre-registration survey link can be found. I'm also just encouraging others and anglers to send me an email. This time of the year I often get busy and just kind of need a little reminder where my mailbox keeps filling up. So if you do happen to send me an email and I don't get back to you right away, just hang in there. I will get back to you. But if it's been about a week, then just send me another email. And I do believe that I've provided contact information later in one of the slides, so feel free to send me an email. So some upcoming events for 2020. Obviously, due to COVID-19, we really needed to change things around and up a bit, and unfortunately we had to cancel a number of events that were associated with this project and many others, including some of our Eat Your Invasive outreach events that we had planned for this year. And some of you may have attended some of our events last year, as shown in some of the and highlighted in some of the photos here that took place in Annapolis Royal in 2019. But we are adapting, and the National Invasive Species Awareness Week presented an opportunity to us, and we have turned to more of an online approach and having some options such as these videos that are being shared each day this week on our website with you guys. So we continue to adapt going forward, and you can probably expect to see more interactive online videos coming your way. Some including chain pickerel filleting demos, also cooking with chain pickerel, featuring some recipes from one of our project partners' invasive species cookbook, which is almost complete, and possibly some interactive fly tying demonstrations. So those are just a few, but we would love to hear from you and would like to know what types of things you're interested in and or may want to see going forward given the current circumstances. And we're obviously encouraging people to always check out our website and Facebook page, where we're pretty interactive on there and usually getting things up daily, but usually and well almost always our events get posted on there, so just check that out as well. And I also just wanted to mention and highlight some of our main project partners for this program. Contact information for each organization and the associated project leads will be provided in the kits that get distributed to anglers, with these groups acting as drop-off or pick-up locations and hubs for information regarding the program. But also feel free to check them out, as they all have great projects on the go here in Nova Scotia. And I just wanted to mention, although these are some of our main partners, we are also working very closely with other groups here in Nova Scotia and volunteers and anglers as well. I just wanted to point out that this work is supported yet again through the Canada Nature Fund for Aquatic Species and Aquatic Habitat. And I just wanted to say thanks again to our project funder, being Fisheries and Oceans Canada, for allowing us to carry this work forward, and also to the staff for providing information where needed regarding aquatic invasive species and species at risk, and also to the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, the Inland Fisheries Division, for technical support and guidance throughout the development of the protocol and also related materials. And aside from our funders, I also wanted to thank the anglers who kindly gave me permission to use their photos for outreach materials and any information that they have shared to date, along with the many project partners, as previously mentioned throughout the presentation, that have assisted with content sharing and so on. And yet again, if you guys have any questions at all regarding the program or anything that was presented today, feel free to reach out to me at the email address that's provided here. or you can check out our page link to learn more about next steps to take with the program. And I am just going to leave this slide here. Here you can find some of the links that I had mentioned throughout the presentation, along with a few others. And I encourage you guys to check them out and just to explore the sites a little bit more. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in today as a part of National Invasive Species Awareness Week. I hope that this presentation served useful, and I hope to hear from you all soon. Happy fishing!